Hello, and thanks for tuning in to this Sold Workshop series. Today, we're going to talk about engaging online students. My name is Andrea Caraway, and I serve as the division's Online Student Experience Manager. Today, I'm going to give you tips and tools to help you learn how to engage online students through your student organizations. For today's agenda, we're going to talk about the UNT online student population. We'll talk about utilizing your communication channels, engaging online students, and where you can go to get help and support in your efforts. Here's a snapshot of what our online student population looked like this spring at UNT. About 13.9% of our students were 100% online. About 68.3% of students were taking at least one online class. And most of our online students are right here in the DFW area. And so they're local. They may just not be able to come to campus as often. So this gives us a great opportunity through student organizations to find ways that work for our online students where they can be involved and active in our organizations. I think it's important to understand why students choose to attend classes online. I think that will help you know what their needs are and how you can better serve them and engage them through your student organizations. One of the biggest reasons why students choose to attend online is because of the flexibility. Whether they're working, whether they're parents, whether they have other commitments, having some additional flexibility about when and where they do their coursework is a big plus for them and a big reason why they choose to attend online. Another reason could be learning preferences. So some students may feel more comfortable sharing their thoughts and ideas in an online format versus doing it in person. We touched on this a little bit earlier, but again, family commitments, whatever that looks like for our students, may mean that they need to be in a place where they can do something online so that they can also be with the family members they're taking care of. And then some of our students are in the workforce or military, and so their responsibilities look a little bit different than a traditional college student. And so, again, that added flexibility creates more opportunities for them to be able to engage and connect to campus. Consistent communication is really important for our online students. Just like many of you are, they're juggling multiple things. They have a million different pieces of information coming at them. So, the more consistent and the more we can streamline our communication, the easier it is for students to be able to find the things that they can participate in and to actually engage with you through your organizations. And so, one thing that I think is really important is that you add your events to OrgSync and that you mark them as online or hybrid. When your events are in OrgSync, they are automatically populated to the UNT calendar, and then students can filter those events to find things that are online or that are hybrid or live streaming. Post regularly on social media. Your social media following is a great way to connect with online students. And so, the more regularly you're sharing the work of your organization and what you all are up to and what you're doing, the more likely you are to get online students interested in being a part. Give specific information and instructions about how students can participate online. So if your meetings are hybrid, it's important that you share that information and that you give students the instructions on how they can attend those meetings virtually. I understand for some things we may not want to post like a public link to a Zoom meeting or something like that, and that's completely understandable and honestly recommended. But one thing that you can do is you can maybe get a sign up list or have a registration form where you can then follow up with those students who are wanting to participate virtually so that you can send them instructions on how and where they need to log in to be able to participate with you online. Online communication falls into one of two buckets: synchronous or asynchronous communication. We'll talk about synchronous communication first. Synchronous communication is happening in real time. So you've got to be there when it happens, otherwise, you'll miss out. So if you're doing video conferencing using tools like Zoom or Teams or Google Meet, those are all synchronous communications. Even text based communications can be synchronous if it is a live chat type situation. Some of you may be experimenting with some new technologies that people are less familiar with. So, spatial video conferencing is another type of communication that happens synchronously. And then, live streaming an event, if you're going to be there for the live stream and not the recorded version, you are participating in synchronous communication. asynchronous communication doesn't require that students tune in at a specific time. They can participate as they're available. So some examples of this are if you're using a discussion board in OrgSync, or maybe you have a Discord or a Slack and you're using the channels, those are all examples of asynchronous communication. Students can look and see what's been posted, they can catch themselves up, they can respond and contribute as they're able to, but they are still a part of the community even though they're not meeting in real time. Some other examples of asynchronous communication include social media, unless you're going live on social media. But if you're posting, if you're commenting, if you're liking, those are all asynchronous communications. Some of you may have websites or blogs where you're telling the story of the work of your organization. That's another example of asynchronous communication. And then if maybe you keep the recordings of something that you did live, or maybe you specifically record something to be available on demand, that is another really great example of asynchronous communication and a great way to involve online students in what you're doing in your student organizations. Engagement goes beyond simply communicating with students, but you're really looking for active participants, which means you need to give them something to do, a way to contribute to the community that they are a part of. And there's a couple of ways that you can do this. So you can utilize polls as a really low level way of being able to get feedback and getting contributions and ideas from your members. You can pose a question or ask people to share their advice on a particular topic or share their experiences. You can use shared documents or shared projects in something like Canva to create something together. And you can give people an opportunity to showcase their skills and talents. Whatever it is, you want to get your members doing something and then giving them an avenue to share what they're doing online within your community. I know some of you are doing hybrid events or hybrid meetings, and one of the big challenges is connecting the conversation, right? Perhaps some of your members are in person meeting and they're having conversations, and some of your participants are participating through Zoom and they're utilizing the chat, but it almost becomes two separate conversations unless you find a way to connect your in person people to your online people. So, a couple of things that I think help me do this when I'm doing hybrid events is to use something like Canva Live or Mentimeter or Slido to make sure that you get everyone in the same chat instead of having people off into a separate chat that's only on Zoom or only on Teams. Then, even your in person participants can utilize their phone or whatever device they have and continue to be a part of the conversation. Canva Live is really fun because people can also like or heart things as you're going through your presentation or your meeting. And so it's a way to make sure that when people online have ideas, that the people in person are able to see those ideas and provide feedback and vice versa. Another great way to connect your audience is having someone specifically dedicated to the chat that's also in the room in person. And so what this could look like is maybe you have a presenter for a workshop that you're doing, but then you also have someone else who's also in the room in person, but they're on their device keeping note of the chat, and they're able to in person say, hey, we've got a really great idea from the chat. Sam suggested this in the chat. What do you all think? And then vice versa, as conversation is happening in person, they can be typing those things in the chat so that your online audience is still connected. And so it's important that we think about how we can bring those conversations together instead of having them separately. So, here are just a few ideas to get you started in thinking about how some things that your organization may already be doing could translate really easily into an online format. So, if you're bringing out guest speakers, if you're doing panels and performances, those types of activities work really well for live streaming. And so that's something you might consider in the future is trying to pick a couple of those types of events to live stream so that online students can participate in some of the things that you're doing. Another fun way to engage online students is gamification. So, whether you're doing like a virtual trivia night using something like Kahoot, or maybe doing a virtual game night, it's a way that you could build community and connections with people, even if you're not all in the same place. Other activities, maybe doing a virtual craft night. I actually did a digital vision board program for online students. And so we used Canva and we were also video conferencing at the same time. And it was really cool because people got to share what their goals were for the upcoming semester. And then you had a group of people that could support you and encourage you as you're reaching those goals. So that might be something that your organization could do as well. Online and hybrid meetings can be tricky. So I want to leave you with some tips to helpfully make sure you're successful in your endeavors. My first tip is to have a co pilot. It is really hard to lead a meeting or to present while running your own text. So, if it's possible, have a second person or even a third person that is there to help moderate the chat, to make sure your technology is running smoothly. That way, your presenter or your person who is leading the meeting doesn't have to worry about it. Test run your tech. That's another big one, especially if you have tech that you're new to using or if you have a really complicated setup. And an example of what a complicated setup could be is if you're utilizing something more than just like a webcam and your presentation slides, but maybe you're bringing in audio from multiple places. Maybe you're playing a video and you're doing that through your meeting and things like that. The more types of components or engagement that you add, it's really great, but it also adds another level of complexity. So you really want to make sure that you do a test run so that you know that everything is plugged up correctly and that your settings are correct to be able to work in the way that you want it to. My third tip, keep learning. New platforms and methods of engaging people online and building community online are created all the time. And so, be an active learner, seek out new and exciting ways that you can engage online students. And then finally, I encourage you to learn from the communities that you're a part of. What makes you want to follow someone on TikTok? What makes you comment or respond to a post? Think about those things and those patterns, what keeps you coming back, and try to implement that in your own online events and programs that you're doing in your organization. Just remember that we are happy and excited to help you. You don't have to do this by yourself. So, whether you're looking for someone to recommend platforms, if you need help with setup and logistics, if you just want to help getting the word out about programs and events that you have for online students, feel free to reach out to me or the online student experience so that we can help out. There's also really great staff and your team in student activities that is also a great resource to help you achieve success in reaching online students through your organization. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this was helpful. If you have other questions or if you need help with your online events, here is our contact information. We've got a great team at the Online Student Experience that is really excited about being able to help our student orgs be able to interact more with our online students.